Welcome to the AJ Sports Show. In this episode, I will kind of give you a preview of the games. I'm not going to review because it's kind of too late of the week to do it. But I'll give you just a preview of some of the games. Now, as I'm recording this, there's actually a couple of games that are going on right now. Houston already beat UCF 30-27. USC's up big over Northwestern, and Memphis just scored to make it a 6-point lead for Tulane. So I'm going to review these games, kind of blast through them, and then we'll get to the NFL's Week 9. Ohio State at Purdue. Ohio State's going to blow Purdue out of the water. I'm not going to discuss any further. Purdue is terrible. It's kind of that old saying, we'll see ya until morale improves. That's kind of the thing for Purdue. They suck. Ohio State's the best team in the country. And it's going to be ugly. Buckeyes will win big. Indiana will travel to State College to face Penn State. Before the season started, we thought, okay, this is going to be a huge game for Indiana. They had that big game over Oregon. This is going to be their second test. Well, Penn State has not been great this season. They started 3-5, 3-0, and then they just plummeted. They lost 5 straight. James Franklin's gone. It's just a mess. No Drew Aller. I do have this weird feeling that it will be competitive in the first half because I think Penn State's just going to play so hard. But Indiana will show that they're the better team. Like by the second half, it won't be. Indiana will win by at least 10 points at minimum. Georgia, Mississippi State. Georgia actually started 4-0. Then they lost to Tennessee, Texas A&M, Florida, and Texas. And Georgia's kind of been that high talented team. That's kind of like what they were last year. They'll play down the competition, play like crap, but manage to win. It might be like that same kind of game for Georgia. They'll play like crap, but they'll manage to win. BYU, Texas Tech. This is probably the game of the week right here. BYU and Texas Tech. BYU's undefeated. They came off their bye week. Their biggest win is over Utah. But you could argue that Texas Tech might be even better. Texas Tech has blown everybody out, but they have that one loss over Arizona State, where Arizona State kind of stunned them. This is going to playoff implications are online. Texas Tech is definitely more pressure to win because BYU can afford the one loss. Texas Tech really can't afford the second loss. It would dim their chances at a conference title game. Now, I do believe that Texas Tech is the more talented team. Brady Morton's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Cameron Dickey's he's been a great machine. Jacoby Williams is also running. So Texas Tech is a balanced offense. BYU, LJ Martin has been the ball carrier. Beer Buckmeyer has been a solid quarterback. And BYU's defense is solid. Well, just slightly worse than Texas Tech. So Texas Tech statistically is the better team, and it's also at Lubbock. But it's anybody's game. But I do think Texas Tech will be a little bit more pressured to win. So I think Texas Tech will narrowly win this game. But it'll be a terrific game to watch. SMU and Boston College, I'm not going to discuss anything more. SMU will win easily. Colorado and West Virginia, I think West Virginia wins that. It's going to be a terrible game. Ole Miss plays the Citadel. Ole Miss should be able to win with ease. Texas A&M and Missouri. I have an odd feeling this could be a trap game for Texas A&M. Missouri is not that bad of a team. Like, they're ranked. They're 6-2. They're not the most impressive SEC team, but Texas A&M, they have a few seasons where they'll start really good, and they'll have that one bad loss and that destroys their season. Even though Texas A&M has been great this season, I'm gonna take a swing. I'm gonna call upset. I think Missouri upsets Texas A&M. We know this happens to A&M every single year. I could be wrong, and I honestly want to be wrong, because you know what? Texas A&M being excellent, breath of fresh air. But I think Missouri will stun them. I think they're going to upset. Oregon and Iowa. Iowa's been pretty solid this year. Oregon's kind of bouncing back after that loss to Indiana. And even though Iowa, when they're a good team, are a really tough place to play, I think Oregon wins. I think it'll be competitive. But Oregon's offensive talent will win out. Syracuse and Miami. I'm only mentioning this because it'll be hilarious if Syracuse wins, but I think Miami's got that game. Iowa State, TCU. Iowa State's kind of fallen off a little bit after that hot start. And TCU has been a good team. They're probably not going to make a conference title game. I think it's too late for that. But I think TCU wins. Auburn and Vandy, I think Vandy will win. There's not much to discuss. Washington and Wisconsin. Washington's going to win, although it's hilarious that Wisconsin is keeping Luke Fickell. I don't believe it. I don't know why. Wake Forest and Virginia. I'm going to pick Virginia, but I think it's going to be really close. I think whoever wins that game is going to win it by the narrowest of margins. Cal and Louisville. I think Louisville wins, but don't sleep on Cal. Florida State and Clemson. Wow. An underwhelming matchup of big brands. Clemson's kind of been both teams have honestly been embarrassments, but I'm picking Clemson. I think just because it's at Clemson. And Clemson even is still a tough place to play, even though they haven't been impressive in a while. LSU and Alabama. Alabama wins. LSU literally just fired Brian Kelly and their athletic director. It's so hilarious. I can't wait to watch how their coaching search is going to be, because it's going to be hilarious. But LSU season's going down the drain. Bama wins that game easily. Navy and Notre Dame. Notre Dame's going to win. You know how this goes. And that's kind of my picks for this college football week 11. All right. NFL's week 10. The Thursday night game. I don't think anybody wants to discuss this Thursday night game. The Broncos won ugly, 10-7 over the Raiders. The Broncos might legitimately be the worst 10-7 team I've ever seen. They're horrible. It's hard to completely trash a team when a team is 8-2, but the Broncos have not won convincingly. Their best win is against the Eagles. That's a great win. Everything else has been ugly. They barely beat the Titans. They barely beat the Jets. They had to come back against the Giants, although that has more to do with the Giants just more than that. Then the Texans have been unwin. So the Broncos, they just don't look impressive. Yes, their defense is good, and Nick Bonito is a first-team All-Pro pass rusher. The Broncos are just not impressive. All right. The Berlin game, the Colts and the Falcons. Both teams coming off of embarrassing losses. Indianapolis, I think this is the perfect get-right game for Atlanta, because the Colts, they just made mistake after mistake after mistake against Pittsburgh. I think the Colts are going to win. This is a get-right game, even though they're without Forrest Buckner. Now, the Colts made a very risky trade. They traded 2 first-round picks and A.D. Mitchell for Sauce Gardner. Now, Sauce Gardner hasn't really played to his full potential after his rookie season, but I think the Colts' hope is maybe with Gardner on an actual good team, maybe he'll realize his potential. There has been corners in the past that they were really risky trades. I think the closest one I'm thinking of is Jalen Ramsey to the Rams. This was in 2019. Remember when Jalen Ramsey was a total malcontent in his final year in Jacksonville? And then he got traded to the Rams and he started playing his full potential again. It's a possibility for Gardner. That's kind of my optimistic way of thinking. But if it goes well for the Colts, then you have a secondary that features a Pro Bowl caliber cornerback in Gardner, a pretty good corner himself in Tre'Davious Ward, and Kenny Moore at the slot. Now, my biggest problem with the Colts is the pass rush, especially when Buckner's going to be out for at least 3 games. And as I'm discussing this, I thought Memphis was going to get this game turned around. The quarterback just threw a pick. Now Memphis has to make a stop against Tulane. Tulane's up by 6 in that game, by the way, as I'm recording this. Giants and the Bears. The Bears have kind of been a very frustrating team to watch. The Bears have they've bounced back after their 0-2 start, and they've been a reasonably good team, much better in the last few years. But they haven't really impressed me all that much. But they are facing the Giants, so I think the Bears are able to win. The Giants are just not good. Bills and the Dolphins. Dolphins traded away Jalen Phillips. Chris Greer finally got fired. It was about damn time for Chris Greer to go. Chris Greer should have been fired the second he basically shook Brian Flores out. Because Chris Greer just doesn't know how to build a team. Chris Greer's biggest strength, he just adds some sexy names. That's it. No structure, nothing, no substance. And they're playing the Bills. The Bills are winning this game. The Dolphins, they're just dead. Mike McDaniel is going to be fired on the Black Monday day. That's the day where coaches get fired after the final week of the regular season. Mike McDaniel is a dead man walking. Ravens and Vikings. This is a pivotal game for both teams. The Vikings got back to 500 after the win over the Lions. The Ravens, they've won the last 2 games. They're getting some guys back. They're kind of trying to get on that hot streak. This is a must-win game for both teams. In a must-win game like this, I think whoever's the better team wins. And I think the better team is Baltimore. Baltimore has a chance, even though they're 3-5. Their schedule isn't that difficult late in the stretch. So if the Ravens can play to their potential, they can come back and make the wild card. It's possible. Now, if the Ravens drop this game with the Vikings, those chances go way down. But if they meet the Vikings, kind of get back to 5-5, they can kind of start from scratch and make that playoff close because they have the talent. They just played like garbage for the first month and a half. Browns and Jets, this game is going to absolutely suck. Do I really want to discuss this game? I'm going to say the Browns win, barely. The Jets are just awful. It's almost a competition of who gets the first overall pick. That's kind of the game for you. Patriots and Buccaneers, a sleepy good game over here. I think, wow. The Patriots have been tearing it up over the last few weeks. Buccaneers have won despite just being absolutely battered. Wow. I think I've said this before. I've said this many times. Baker Mayfield's my favorite player. So, I'm being a little bit biased towards the Bucs, but if I'm thinking this objectively, the Patriots have just been red hot. And I think their hot streak continues over the Bucs. The Bucs are a little bit too injury battered to kind of play their full potential. And the Patriots have just been firing on all cylinders. So I think the red hot Patriots will win this game. Saints and the Panthers are going to win. The Panthers, if they don't blow this game against the Saints, the Panthers will be 6-4. It would have an actual chance of making a wild card. Last year was a total train wreck. And they have a chance to go 6-4 and have that bounce back season, which is what they desperately need. Bryce Young desperately needs to make the playoffs to kind of silence the future draft bust label on him. If they do that, the critics will slow down just slightly, and there will be hope in Carolina. Jaguars and the Texans. It's going to be an ugly game, but with C.J. Stroud out and Davis Mills starting, the Jaguars are going to win. The Jaguars did make that trade for Jacoby Myers because Hunter's out for a few more games with a knee problem. Brian Thomas is out with an injury. He's not been good this year. Trevor Lawrence needs somebody to throw the ball to, and that's why they've made that move to grab Jacoby Myers from the Raiders. Cardinals and the Seahawks. Speaking of the Seahawks, they also made a huge move. They decided to grab the Saints' home run threat, Shaheed. I don't know why I never Rashid Shaheed. That's his name. I always forget his name. He's a home run hitting kind of wide receiver. So to compliment him with, yes, Cooper Kupp hasn't been anywhere close as great as he was in 2021, but he's still a good slot receiver option. And Jackson Smith and Jimba has just broken out. And you have a decent running game with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. The defense has played really well. I think the Seahawks have the potential to win that NFC West. Basically, it's between them and the Rams. Now, the Seahawks have the Cardinals. The Cardinals are starting Jacoby Brissett, but I think Seattle wins. I think Seattle's a really good team this year. Rams and 49ers. Stafford, in my opinion, he's in my eyes, should be the MVP frontrunner. He's played out of his mind. This is the best football he's played in a few years. And this could be one of the best seasons he's ever produced of his entire career. They play against the 49ers team that's just injured to hell. And I think the Rams win. The Niners are a good team, but they're just too battered. Lions and the Commanders. Commanders, they're without Jay Daniels. Now, they're lucky that he had no structural damage to that elbow. So, that's the good news. The bad news, I think it's too late. Commanders' defense, that defense is too old. No Terry McLaurin. Debo has not been the guy they hoped he was going to be. I think the Lions bounce back after that loss to Minnesota and win easily. Sunday nighter, Pittsburgh and the Chargers. This is a weird game because the Chargers they have no offensive line. Rashawn Slater was gone before the season even started, and now Joe Alt is gone for the year. So, I think the Steelers win. I know the Steelers, over the last 5 years, like practically every single game they've won ugly. I think the Chargers are too bad to capitalize. I think the Steelers win and continue to try to make that push to win the NFC North. Monday Nighter, this is a great matchup. Eagles and Packers. The Eagles have just been, they haven't been nearly as dominant as they were last year, but they've still been winning. Jalen Hurts is still playing great. Saquon has not been as dominant as last year, but he's still pretty damn good. And the Packers have been good, but it's almost like they haven't played their full potential. They've shown spurts, but they haven't been shown it throughout the entire game. So I think Green Bay wins. I think Green Bay is looking to bounce back after that humiliating loss to the Panthers. That's how I see it. I see Green Bay win that game. And as I'm recording this, so Memphis, let's see. I want to actually see this camera. This is garbage. Look at this. Tulane and Memphis. Alright. So Memphis just got the ball back. Let's do a little bit of game calling here. So it's 2:30 left. Memphis has a 3rd and 3 at the Tulane's 30-yard line. 2 wide receivers to the right. Memphis chose to run the ball. They got absolutely stuffed. So it's 4th down. 4th and 3 for Memphis. And this pretty much decides the game. Unfortunately, they're taking this to the 2-minute warning, so do I really want to wait 5 minutes? Waste 5 minutes of this video to... I don't think I want to waste 5 minutes. However, I may or may not record the final play after I get done with this. Alright. That wraps this up. That wraps up this episode preview of this week's college and the NFL. So I'll see y'all next week. Thanks for watching.